Damsha, Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishna Bhakti Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Chalani Nirvishesha Shunyadi Pashanti Desatari Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Vedanta Shri Vasadi Gaurav Putravrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Hare सर्वशास्त्रार्थी पीयूष सर्ववेदिक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नार्थ सर्वलोकैक दिक्प्रद सर्वभागवत पुराण श्रीमद् भागवत प्रभु कलिभ्रांतोदिगायति परिवर्तित परमानंद पाठाय प्रेमवर्षक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्या श्री कृष्णानि सुने मदेक बंधु मत्संगिन मद्गुरो मन्महाधन मन्निस्सारक मद्भाग्य मदानंद नमस्तुते असाधु साधुताराय नतिनीक्षोच्चताकर आनमुच्चिकदाशन मां प्रेमा कृतं प्रेयस्पुरा ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. So this is 3.25, 24.47. Okay. Prabhupada's purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, only by devotional service can one understand the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord, and after understanding him perfectly in his transcendental position, enter into the kingdom of God. The process of entering into the kingdom of God is Tripada Bhuti Gati, Bhagavati Gati. Bhagavad Upanishatsu, or the path back home, back to Godhead, by which one can attain the ultimate goal of life. Kardamuni, by his perfect devotional knowledge and service, achieved this ultimate goal, which is known as Bhagavati Gatihi. Chapter 25. The glories of devotional service. Next one. Shaunaka Vache, Kapilas Tattva Sankhyata, Bhagavan Atma Maya, Jata Swayam Ajas Sakshad Atma Pragyaptayen Vrinam. Shri Shaunaka said, although he is unborn, the Supreme Personality of Godhead took birth as Kapila Muni by his internal potency. He descended to disseminate transcendental knowledge for the benefit of the whole human race. Matra Prishtah Panchavimshe Kapilo Bhakti Mahatam Tal-Lakshanam Prabhavam Tad Utkarsham Cha Sarvataha. So when he was asked by his mother, then the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila, spoke to her about the process of devotional service, its characteristics, its influence, and its exalted position over everything else. Tattva Sankhyata, Tattva Sankhyana Karta, Sankhya Pravartakaha. Tattva Sankhyata literally means one who expounds, one who elaborates on the truth. It is another way of saying that he spoke elaborately about Sankhya. Swayamajas tadapi atmamaya jataha. Even though he is personally unborn, still through his personal potency, he took birth. Atarkya yogamaya shaktya pradurbhavita prakrita janmalila. Through his yogamaya potency, which is beyond logical analysis, he brought about a transcendental pastime of birth. Ityarthaha. This is the meaning. Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tattvataha iti bhagavaduktehe bhagavad janmanaha mayikatvasya vyakyatum ashakyatva. Because it is not possible to explain the birth of Bhagavan as mayik because of the statement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. in Bhagavad Gita 4.9 that says the Supreme Lord's birth and activities are divine, and one who knows this, he can go back to Godhead. He can attain the spiritual world. Purport. The word Atma Pragyaptaye, to disseminate transcendental knowledge, indicates that the Lord descends for the benefit of the human race to give transcendental knowledge. This should also be understood to be a common characteristic of all the incarnations of the Vishnu Tattvas. Material necessities are quite sufficiently provided for in the Vedic knowledge, which offers a program for good living conditions and gradual elevation to the platform of goodness. In the mode of goodness, one's knowledge expands. On the mode of passion, there is no knowledge, for passion is simply an impetus to enjoy material benefits. On the platform of ignorance, there is no knowledge and no enjoyment. There is no impetus to enjoy material benefits, but simply life almost like that of animals. In other words, animals are only interested in immediate enjoyment, as immediate as possible within this lifetime. Whereas in passion, one wants to enjoy on a long-term basis. Animals are only interested in short-term happiness. But even some animals, they have a sense that they should store things for the next year and all that.
There are animals who live with only one partner. There are crow whole life live with only
one mate.
There are more.
Also, they store things for the next winter or something.
Ants, they store things for the rainy season, something.
So they have some concept of long term, but 1 year is long term, short term. So that was. But human beings, technically, they are supposed to plan for next life. That is the karma bhumika, the platform of karma. Anyabhilashita is tamas, karma is rajas, jnana is sattva, and then bhakti is aprakrita.
So what about the food storing about by brahmacharis or sannyasis? It is mentioned one should not store the food for the future purpose.
Yes, but in mathas, in monasteries, they provide all these things. Monastery is basically a facility, just like house is a facility for householders.
It is facility for those who cannot live completely.
Who can live completely? That is a Paramahamsa sannyasi.
Yeah.
That is Paramahamsa sannyasi.
Those who cannot live like Paramahamsa cannot be like Grihastha also. For them,
there is Matha. Matha is in between. The airport. The Vedas are meant to elevate one from the mode of ignorance to the platform of goodness. When one is situated in the mode of goodness, he is able to understand knowledge of the self or transcendental knowledge. So in Sattva Guna, the aim becomes moksha. In Rajoguna, the aim is dharma plus artha plus kama. In Tamoguna, only artha plus kama. And if it goes lower and lower, then only kama, not even artha plus kama. When one is situated in the mode of goodness, he is able to understand knowledge of the self or transcendental knowledge. This knowledge cannot be appreciated by any ordinary man. Therefore, since a disciplic succession is required, this knowledge is expounded either by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself or by his bona fide devotee. Shaunaka Muni also states here that Kapila, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, took birth or appeared simply to appreciate and disseminate transcendental knowledge, simply to understand that one is not matter but spirit soul, aham brahmasmi. I am by nature Brahman is not sufficient knowledge for understanding the self and his activities. One must be situated in the activities of Brahman. Knowledge of those activities is explained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Such transcendental knowledge can be appreciated in human society, but not in animal society, as clearly indicated here by the word nrinam, for the human beings. Human beings are meant for regulated life. Regulation. There is, first of all, unrestricted, unregulated life. Then the next step is regulated, unrestricted life. Then is regulated, restricted life. Then is only restricted life, no regulation also. No space for regulation also. So in that way, we move step by step. Human beings are meant for regulated life. Regulated means Everything is provided under particular constraints to get us to get the conditioned soul used to it. So if you simply don't provide it, you will rebel. You will, like a horse, if you don't satisfy the horse will kick the horse driver. So that is not going to help. So it should be provided. So in a life of dharmartha kama, it is all provided, but only in particular manner. Sridhar Swami gives this example. He says, if a man, a householder, okay, first of all, if a man wants to enjoy sexual activity, then he should marry a woman, and he should marry her. He should marry her, and he should maintain her. He can only relate to her. He can only relate to her intimately at night, not in the daytime. And there are some forbidden nights. If he wants, he can have one more wife. But again, he should maintain her in that way. So this is called regulation. Everything is provided for, but under particular terms, conditions, and all these things. So basically, the mind gets adjusted to accepting Vedic authority. Then higher than that is Vanaprastha life, joint Vanaprastha life. Then higher than that is separated Vanaprastha life or sannyas life. So in that way, there are step-by-step arrangements. So it starts with regulated life. If regulation also I don't want means, then it becomes very, very problematic to attain spiritual realization. Same thing that exists even in like in monasteries. Food is provided, but it is provided on a regulated basis. You cannot say that, today I feel like eating this, I feel like eating that. It's arranged. It's done like that throughout India, various, even in the Mayavadi monasteries, everywhere it's properly regulated. By nature.
So you are saying something about restricted life. What
Yes,
does it mean?
restricted life means no eating at all. That is the highest. Nidrahara viharakadi vichittau.
So they simply live on a spiritual energy.
They live on whatever comes to them.
They already not eating, no. You say simply.
That I don't know, but through Madhukari, for instance, that is also regulation. You cannot specify what you want in Madhukari. Whatever they give. Sweet, sweet. Spicy, spicy. In between. No taste, no taste. Whatever. You have to accept it as, if you are in Vrajmandal, you have to accept it as Radharani's mercy. That's all. Go on in life.
Restricted like, restricted like Parikshit Maharaj, no eating, no drinking.
Yeah, like the 6 Goswamis. They simply didn't have time for all these things. Like the Ekadashi fast among certain Vaishnava lines. Absolute fast. If we cannot imagine these things, we can easily understand where we are. By first of all, considering what I can imagine implementing in my life. What I cannot imagine implementing in my life must be at least 2 steps above. 2 steps above. Minimum 2 steps, if not 3 steps. So you should understand that, okay, right now I'm not capable of imagining. Let me go to the next step, then I'll be capable of imagining. Then gradually. Okay.
There is a question from
There's a question. Mohan Radhapati Prabhu had a question. I don't know who is this Mohan Radhapati Prabhu.
Prabhu Achyut Namdas.
Ah.
That it got clarified. I was asking about difference between regulation and restriction, but you clarified.
Fine. By nature, there is regulation in animal life also. But that is not like the regulative life as described in the scriptures or by the authorities who follow the scriptures. Even animals are regulated. Human life is regulated life, not animal life. Scripturally regulated life.
At least for the sex, most animals, not most, but like they have a proper season. Like
They have seasons, yeah, they have seasons.
Only in particular season they have.
I think eating, sleeping, fearing, defending also is regulated amongst animals.
Humans have become actually less than the animals.
In Kali Yuga, it happens. Yeah, of course, at all times, all kinds of things happen. But in Kali Yuga, these things are promoted. Human life is regulated life, means human life is scripturally regulated life, not animalistic regulated life even, meant to be higher. In regulated life only can one understand transcendental knowledge. So if we are not regulated, then we are making ourselves unfit for spiritual knowledge, understanding, realization. 2. Nahyasya varshmanaha pumsam varimnaha sarva yoginam vishrutau shrutadevasya bhuri tripyanti me savaha. Shaunaka continued, there is no one who knows more than the Lord himself. No one is more worshipable or more mature a yogi than he. He is therefore the master of the Vedas, and to hear about him always is the actual pleasure of the senses. Pumsam kshirodashayi prabhriti purushanam tatha sarva yoginam dattatreya adinam cha madhye asya varshmanaha kapila akarasya dehasya yo varima shreshtatvam tasya vishrutau khyatau me asavaha pranaha shravana adi indriyani va bhuri alam na tripyanti. My life airs or my senses, beginning with the sense of hearing, are not satiated in hearing the glories, in hearing about the most exalted position of this personality who has assumed the form of Kapila amongst all the Purushas, beginning with Kshirodakshai Vishnu, and amongst all the yogis, such as Dattatreya. Now, Dattatreya is an incarnation of the Lord. Mama Kidrishasya Shrutena Shravanena Divyati Dyotate Iti Tatha Tasya Bhuri Bahushaha Shrutaha Devaha Yena Tasya Api Iti Lav. My senses are fully satiated. Even though I have heard so much about this Lord, still, by hearing about this, my life is shining. Isn't it? This is a sport for my ears. Shruta Devasya Dyotate. Okay. This is illumination for my ears. I have heard about this repeatedly. Still, I am not fully satisfied. Fully satisfied means I'm not bored. Satiated has a sense of being bored. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that no one can be equal to or greater than the Supreme Personality of God. This is confirmed in the Vedas also. Eko Bahunam Yoga Dhati Kaman. Okay.
Prabhu, in purport, I want to understand this line little better. That in ignorance there is no knowledge, there is no enjoyment, which you clarified that no impetus to enjoy material benefits, but simply life almost like that of animals. So animals also seem to enjoy, like those who are unregulated humans. They also, I can sleep whenever I want, I can eat whenever I want, I can just catch any girl and do whatever I want.
No. But you see, if you consider one life as a unit of material experience, within that, when we engage in pious activities, then over the decades, it will accumulate to more happiness. Actually, in the Vedic calculation, 7 lifetimes is taken as a unit. If that is too much, I will say 1 lifetime. But 7 lifetimes is normal. Like previously and all, the girls would want to have a pious husband for 7 lifetimes. Okay, so 7 lifetimes can be taken if you take it as a unit. Then when I engage in sinful activity this lifetime I will be happy. But next 6 lifetimes I'll have to suffer now.
Not just in this lifetime itself.
In this lifetime it will begin, but there is a possibility that my prarabdha karma contains some pious benefits due to some previous pious activities that I executed in my previous lifetime. So if you take okay, why 7? Let's take a decimal figure. 10 lifetimes. Even that if you calculate, then you can see that when you perform sinful activities, you become more miserable. First of all, the concept of karma according to reincarnation is a logical explanation. Even if you don't accept Vedic authority, like the Buddhists, they accept karma and reincarnation because it is the only logical explanation for the disparities that we see in this world. Why some people, no matter what, how much they endeavor, they are still stuck in distress. And some people, without any endeavor, they attain great enjoyment. And some people with little endeavor, they get so much distress. Some people with little endeavor, they get so much happiness. So the explanation based on karma and reincarnation is appropriate for this. So that requires some thinking because one needs to use a brain for that. Animals don't use a brain. They are just instinctive. Whatever is immediately giving them happiness, they'll accept. Whatever gives them immediate fear, they will run away from. They are not capable of calculating delayed gratification. What will lead to delayed gratification? They're not able to calculate. So that is not considered enjoyment. Enjoyment means between happiness and unhappiness, happiness should be predominant. There has to be 50+% of happiness within a particular duration of material experience. Even if you take it as, say, 10 lifetimes or like that. Even if you take one lifetime also, there will be benefit over the decades, generally over the decades.
So regarding this karma, so we say that we suffer when we leave this body, we go to Naraka, then we have to suffer for sinful activities. Then we also suffer in this lifetime again. We are living now, and again the miseries are coming. So how this works?
How this works? I commit sinful activity. There are first of all different grades of sinful activities. Certain sinful activities we suffer only as human beings. But if it goes extreme, then we have to be given animal bodies. But before getting gross animal bodies, we are sent to Naraka where we are given training to accept those animal bodies in the form of misery. So that is punishment. So that is punishment phase 1. Then animal body is punishment phase 2. But animals don't understand that they're being punished because there is shoka and moha and bhaya, all three mixed together. Gradually, after so many hundreds of lifetimes or more, gradually one comes to the human form of life.
But what about the suffering comes in human form of life?
That is for minimal sinful activities. I commit less sinful activities, then I don't have to go to hell. I get punishment only in this lifetime or in the next lifetime. And by the way, even if I go to hell, then I become an animal. Then I become a human. Then again, some residue of the punishment is there. Punishment phase 3. That is also there.
Here, Madhvacharya says something that it goes for some.
No. He gives a quote from Brahma Purana that from the age of 14, any male or female human being will accumulate karmic reactions for minimum 10 lifetimes. So it is so each life. So you cannot. Sometimes they think, no, I'll just exhaust my karma. I will not go to a doctor. I'll exhaust my karma. I'll suffer through. There is no exhausting because each lifetime we are doing some activity which is going to generate karma for 10 future human lifetimes. So you need to actually destroy the karmic reaction. You have to do something by which the karmic reaction is destroyed. Either destroyed, or if you want to experience it, then you take to Vishnu Bhakti along with the desire for material happiness within pious boundaries, and you avoid sinful activities, and you have a desire for liberation. And if you don't want to become a demigod or at any post, then you will have to experience prarabdha karma for hundreds of lifetimes, or minimum one lifetime of Brahma. Then afterwards, when universal liberation happens, you also go into that. So the desire to enjoy this world is such a criminal desire. That is why all these arrangements are there. Highly inconvenient arrangements. But the prison is meant to be inconvenient. You cannot say you're not putting the AC on. You're in prison. You're a criminal. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that no one can be equal to or greater than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in the Vedas also. Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman. He is the Supreme Living Entity and is supplying the necessities of all other living entities. Thus, all other living entities, both Vishnu Tattva and Jiva Tattva, are subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The same concept is confirmed here. Of course, when you say Vishnu Tattva are subordinate to Krishna, that is only as a pastime. But the Jiva Tattvas are subordinate to Krishna not as a pastime, but in reality. Na hyasya vashmanaha pumsam. Among the living entities, no one can surpass the Supreme Person because no one is richer, more famous, stronger, more beautiful, wiser, or more renounced than he. These qualifications make him the Supreme Godhead, the cause of all causes. Yogis are very proud of performing wonderful feats, but no one can compare to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who is associated with the Supreme Lord is accepted as a first-class yogi. Associated means an associate of the Lord, Bhagavad Parshada. Devotees may not be as powerful as the Supreme Lord, but by constant association with the Lord, they become as good as the Lord himself. Sometimes the devotees act more powerfully than the Lord. Of course, that is the Lord's concession. Also used here is the word Varimnaha, meaning the most worshipful of all yogis. Varimnaha. Varimnaha, the foremost. Sarva yoginam Varimnaha. Also used here is the word Varimnaha. Sarva yoginam Varimnaha, meaning the most worshipful of all yogis. To hear from Krishna is the real pleasure of the senses. Therefore, he is known as Govinda, for by his words, by his teachings, by his instruction, by everything connected with him, he enlivens the senses. Whatever he instructs is from the transcendental platform, and his instructions being absolute are non-different from him. Hearing from Krishna or his expansion or plenary expansion, like Kapila, is very pleasing to the senses. Bhagavad Gita can be read or heard many times, but because it gives great pleasure, the more one reads Bhagavad Gita, the more he gets the appetite to read and understand it. And each time he gets new enlightenment. That is the nature of the transcendental message. Similarly, we find that transcendental happiness in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The more we hear and chant the glories of the Lord, the more we become happy. 3. Yad yad vidhatte bhagavan svachantatmatma mayaya tani me shraddha dhanasya kirtan yan yanu kirtaya. Therefore, please precisely describe all the activities and pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is full of self-desire and who assumes all these activities by his internal potency. Svachandatma, full of self-desire, has another meaning. Swachandaha, swadhinaha, natu jivavat karmadhinaha, atma, dehaha, yasya saha. His very body, which is his self, is independent, not like the jiva's body, which is dependent on karmic reactions. Swanam chandena ichaya atma deha deharvirbhava yasya iti va. Another meaning is his revelation of his body, which is himself, happens by his own desire. So he takes on a body according to his own desire. We cannot do things like that. Atma mayaya, yoga mayaya, yadyat karma vidhatte, natu bahiranga mayaya, janma karma chame divyam ityukte. He engages in various activities. He performs various activities. But those activities, where is karma? Okay. Whichever activities he performs, and he performs all of his activities through Atma Maya, by his internal potency, which is referring to his Yoga Maya, not through Bahiranga Maya, because it is stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.9, that is the case. Yadyatiti ekatvayapi vipsaya bahulya tani iti anena bahuvachana antena saha sambandhaha. Kirtanyani, kirtana arhani. All these activities are worthy of praise, worthy of glorification. The word anukirtaya is very significant. Please describe. Please precisely describe. And it has one more meaning. Anukirtaya means to follow the description. Please describe in accordance with the descriptions of the previous authorities. First of all, in Vedic culture, they like authorities, which is bad news for today's people. They like authorities. As much as possible, they try to follow authority. First of all, you're trained to accept mother, father, and you follow them as much as possible. Innocent until proven guilty. In modern civilization, which is Western civilization, as much as possible, don't follow authority. So try not to follow mother, try not to follow father, try not to follow government, try not to follow teacher, as much as possible. Anukirtaya means to follow the description, not to create a concocted mental description, but to follow. Shaunaka Rishi requested Suta Goswami to describe what he had actually heard from his spiritual master, Shukadeva Goswami, about the transcendental pastimes the Lord manifested by his internal energy. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has no material body, but he can assume any kind of body by his supreme will. That is made possible by his internal energy. 4. Suta Vacha. Vaipayana Sakhastvevam Maitreyo Bhagavamstatha Prahedam Vidaram Prita Anvikshikyam Prachoditaha. Sri Suta Goswami said, the most powerful sage Maitreya was a friend of Vyasadeva. Being encouraged and pleased by Vidura's inquiry about transcendental knowledge, Maitreya spoke as follows. Evamiti yathatvam mam vrikshasi iti artha. He spoke about this subject matter just as you are inquiring from me. Anvikshikyam atmavidyayam. Anvikshikyam. About transcendental knowledge. About transcendental knowledge. Which refers to Atmavidya, knowledge of the self. Knowledge of the individual self, knowledge of the supreme self, both. Questions and answers are very satisfactorily dealt with when the inquirer is bona fide and the speaker is also authorized. Here, Maitreya is considered a powerful sage and therefore he is also described as Bhagavan. Bhagavan, worshipful, worshipable. This word can be used not only for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but for anyone who is almost as powerful as the Supreme Lord. Almost as powerful as the Supreme Lord means as powerful by his will. Maitreya is addressed as Bhagavan because he was spiritually far advanced. He was a personal friend of Dvaipayana Vyasadeva, a literary incarnation of the Lord. Maitreya was very pleased with the inquiries of Vidura because they were the inquiries of a bona fide advanced devotee. Thus, Maitreya was encouraged to answer. When there are discourses on transcendental topics between devotees of equal mentality, the questions and answers are very fruitful and encouraging. Like-minded. 5. Maitreya Vacha. Pitari prastite ranyam matuh priya chikir shaya. Tasmin bindu sare vatsid bhagavan kapilah kila. Maitreya said when Kardama left for the forest, Lord Kapila stayed on the strand of the Bindu Sarovar to please his mother Devakruti. Bindu Sare Matuhu Priya Chikirshaya iti anena Kaumar Uchitas Tanappanadi Leela api Gyeya. So he stayed there means that he as a small child, in order to please his mother, when he was a small child, he drank the breast milk of his mother and so on. These pastimes are also to be understood. In the absence of the father, it is the duty of the grown son. And then, of course, he grew up and took charge. It is the duty of the grown son to take charge of his mother and serve her to the best of his ability, so that she will not feel separation from her husband. And it is the duty of the husband to leave home as soon as there is a grown son to take charge of his wife and family affairs. So this should be understood to be a description of the continuous activities that Lord Kapila was engaged in. That is the Vedic system of household life. One should not remain continually implicated in household affairs up to the time of death. He must leave family affairs, and the wife may be taken charge of by a grown son. 6. Tamasinam akarmanam tattvam margagra darshanam swasutam devahutyaha dhatu samsmarati vachaha. When Kapila, who could show her the ultimate goal of the absolute truth, was sitting leisurely before her, Devahuti remembered the words Brahma had spoken to her, and she therefore began to question Kapila as follows. Tattvamargasya agram param darshayati iti tatha. Lord Kapila could show the ultimate goal of, he could show the ultimate goal of the entire description of the absolute truth. That is the meaning of the ultimate goal of the absolute truth. About the pathway to attain the absolute truth. Esha manavi te garbham pravishta kaitavardhanaha ityadi dhatur vachaha. Devahuti remembered the words Brahma had spoken to her, 3.24.18. O daughter of Manu, the killer of Kaitaba has entered into your womb. So she remembered that. 7. Devahuti ruvacha. Nirvinna nitaram bhuman asadindriya tarshanat. Yena sambhavya manena prapannandham tamah prabho. Devahuti said, I am very sick of the disturbance caused by my material senses, for because of this sense disturbance, my Lord, I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance. Abyss. Fallen into some deep dark spot. One thing we notice in Vedic culture, even common people, they used this kind of wordings. His senses are disturbed. He is unable to control his senses. In today's world, nobody speaks like that. We say he's unable to control himself. But we notice even almost 100 years back, they would use expressions like this. He has not brought his senses under control. So the whole idea is the senses are a big mess of all kinds of things that are, each one is going for its own thing, and you're supposed to control them. Just like if you have a family with so many children, each child wants, someone wants, you go to the marketplace with the 5 of your children, then one wants a play toy, one wants this, one wants this. So it was always understood that the senses are something like that. The conditioned soul is there, the subtle body, there's a gross body, and then you have the subtle senses working through the gross senses, and each one is, it's a big complicated mess that each conditioned soul is in. So Devahuti is aware of these things. Now that kind of wording itself, now wording has an influence on thinking process. There was one George Orwell who wrote a famous essay in English about how different words are used to have different effects on the mind. He said, in wars, they have to make announcements to the public. So if some people need to be destroyed, you don't say they were killed. You say something like elimination of antisocials. The target is neutralized.
Yeah, still you saying words.
Okay. So it doesn't make you feel bad. So where is the target? The target is on spot. So you don't say there is a man, is an old man, and you're supposed to shoot him. You don't speak, because if you speak like that, immediately the human nature will come up and you say, oh, but he's an old man, I should not kill him. Oh, but that's a woman. No, you use neutral expressions. Target on position. Now you can shoot. They may not even use the word shoot. I don't know what they will say. So they use wordings because wordings have a particular effect on the mind. So they don't say abortion, for instance. They say pregnancy termination. Sounds better. You don't say murder of a child. That sounds very shocking. So words are used in such a manner that they have particular effect on the mind. So when you use words like this, now my senses are disturbed. So if imagine if somebody were to tell, previously this is how they were. You'd say, no, if a man catches his wife's hand, the wife will say, your senses are disturbed. And now they'll say, oh, you love me. So the wordings themselves have particular, it is all meant to generate Vairagya Vidya Bhakti. The entire Vedic culture is meant to promote increasing Vairagya Vidya and Vishnu Bhakti. So therefore, these kind of wordings were also part and parcel of that culture. Here the word, okay, wait. Let's look at this. Tarshanat.
Prabhu, suddenly your voice became very low. I don't know what happened.
No, it did not become very low. Okay. From tomorrow we should go inside. How? Where we'll arrange?
Just you have to show this, so you can keep that table moving aside. You just carry your sit on this. We'll see today.
Okay, we'll make some plan for tomorrow. It's just this mixie here in the kitchen that is making a noise. And when it makes noise, you cannot hear me. So last time I was just quiet. I didn't speak anything. So you did not miss anything. Okay. Tarshanat. Tarshanas. From agitation. Asadindriya Tarshanat. From the agitation of the impermanent senses. First of all, the very language is philosophically enlightened. It's elevated philosophical discussion. Darshana. Darshanat. Vishaya Abhilashat. So agitation. What does this agitation mean? The agitation means hankering for sense objects. So it is understood that the senses are designed to hanker for sense objects, but which sense will hanker to which sense object, that depends on karma. Because it's according to karma that we have particular attractions for particular sense objects. Particular senses are particularly attracted. So naturally that will change. That will change over lifetimes. Even within one lifetime, it will change over decades also. It will also depend on the degree of one's spiritual advancement. Tachanad Vishayabhilashat Nirvinna Prapta Dhikkara. I'm disgusted. Disgusted is the right word actually. I'm very sick of the disturbance. Prapta Dhikkara. Yena Tarshanena Samyak Bhavyamanena Etavat Kalapariyannam Kriyamanena Andham Tamah Samsaram. It is because of my hankering for sense objects that for so long I have been engaged in activities that have simply thrown me into deep darkness. Deep darkness refers to material existence. Material existence is always considered in Vedic literature to be darkness. And there's a whole idea that there is a kingdom of God and our engagement in the kingdom of God is full of light, illumination. So that contrast is always presented. That is light. What to speak of the kingdom of God? Even the higher worlds are presented as shining, illuminating. Always you'll find descriptions like that. Here the word Asad Indriya Tarshanat is significant. Asat means impermanent, temporary, and Indriya means senses. This Asad Indriya Tarshanat means from being agitated by the temporarily manifest senses of the material body. We are evolving through different statuses of material bodily existence, sometimes in a human body, sometimes in an animal body, and therefore the engagements of our material senses are also changing. Anything which changes is called temporary or asat. We should know that beyond these temporary senses are permanent senses, which are now covered by the material body. The permanent senses being contaminated by matter or not acting properly. Devotional service therefore involves freeing the senses from this contamination. When the contamination is completely removed and the senses act in the purity of unalloyed Krishna consciousness, we have reached Sadendriya. We have reached activities of Sadendriya or sense gratification. There is no opportunity to hear transcendental messages from a person like Kapila. So first of all, we have to come to the point of being tired of material sense gratification. That means not just one or two or three or four limited types of material sense gratification, all types of sense gratification. Like when the person who realizes that he has diabetes and does not want to increasingly suffer, he accepts, I'll give up all kinds of sweets. Not I'll give up one kind of sweet, two kinds of sweet, three kinds of sweet. I'll give up all kinds of sweet. So like that, when we understand that we are trapped in material existence, and therefore we should get out of material existence, for which sense gratification is the degrading cause. It is the cause which causes us to become more and more degraded. So then, and no matter how many times we engage in sense enjoyment, of course, here Devahuti's description of sense enjoyment is actually dharmic sense enjoyment, not adharmic sense enjoyment. From adharmic sense enjoyment or tamoguna or sinful activity, one can never ever come to the point of understanding this world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. So therefore, the stress is given in Vedic culture. First of all, you get out of sinful life. Because as long as you're in sinful life, you cannot get it. It's like if a person is drug addicted, you cannot help him. You cannot do good to him unless you get him out of drugs. Because he has to first of all come to reality. So, first step is to come to the platform of uninterrupted dharmic life in Bhagavad Bhakti. And the next step is to come to uninterrupted sattvic life. So now she is talking about sattvic life. Sattvic life is a life based on jnana vairagya. That is what she is talking about. Then we become fit to hear messages from a person like Kapila. That's why that arrangement is there. Swadharma jnana vairagya sadhya bhakti eka gochara narayana param brahma Gita Shastre Samiritaha. This is Yamanacharya's summary of Bhagavad Gita in one verse. That Lord Narayana, he is Supreme Brahman. He is completely described in Bhagavad Gita. And he can only be attained through bhakti, which is attained through vairagya, which is attained through jnana, which is attained through swadharma. Of course, it is implied that we give up sinful activities. Devahuti expressed that she was tired. Now that her husband had left home, she wanted to get relief by hearing the instructions of Lord Kapila.
So, about this Bhoga and Tyaga, how to come out of from this Bhoga and Tyaga?
Through seva. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that there is Bhoga, there is Tyaga, there is seva. Bhagavad seva, Krishna seva, in its pure form. So, when we engage in service to Krishna, then we get the opportunity to become free. Daivi Hesha Gunamayi. Maamevaya prapadyante mayametam tarantite. 8. Tasyatvam tamasondhasya dushparasyaadya paragam satchakshur janmanam ante labdham me tvad anugrahat. Your Lordship is my only means of getting out of this darkest region of ignorance, because you are my transcendental eye, which by your mercy only I have attained after many, many births. Paragam. Param gamayati iti. You are the only one who can help me cross over this darkness. Tataha, tatchaktu, tatchakshu, tamaha prabha Vishnu netram. You are my transcendental eye, which means you are my source of vision, which has the capacity to overcome the darkness of material existence. This verse is very instructive since it indicates a relationship between the spiritual master and the disciple. The disciple or conditioned soul is put into this darkest region of ignorance and therefore is entangled in the material existence of sense gratification. It is very difficult to get out of this entanglement and attain freedom. But if one is fortunate enough to get the association of a spiritual master like Kapila Muni or his representative, then by his grace one can be delivered from the mire of ignorance, from the quicksand of ignorance. So we always require superior help. Those who are superior to us in Vairagya Vidya and Vishnu Bhakti, they are the ones who can help us get out. So they need to be accepted as superior authorities who can give competent knowledge and understanding to help us get out. Of course, the actual hard work we have to do. Prabhupada also says elsewhere that the spiritual master, he will give various hints, he will give various clues, but it is up to the disciple to put them into practice. And he says, just like the teacher will teach many things, but it is a student's business to go and sit for the exam and write the exam and pass the exam. The teacher is not going to write the exam for the student. The spiritual master is therefore worshipped as one who delivers the disciple from the mire of ignorance with the light of the torch of knowledge. The word paragam is very significant. Paragam refers to one who can take the disciple to the other side. This side is the conditioned life. The other side is the life of freedom. The spiritual master takes the disciple to the other side by opening his eyes with knowledge. We are suffering simply because of ignorance. By the instruction of the spiritual master, the darkness of ignorance is removed, and thus the disciple is enabled to go to the side of freedom. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that after many, many births, one surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, if after many, many births, one is able to find the bona fide spiritual master and surrender to such a bona fide representative of Krishna, one can be taken to the side of light. 9. Ya adyo bhagavan pumsam ishvaro vaibhavan kila lokasya tamasandhasya chakshus suryavoditaha. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the origin and Supreme Lord of all living entities. You have arisen to disseminate the rays of the sun in order to dissipate the darkness of the ignorance of the universe. Na kevalam mama eva chakshuhu apitu sarvasya eva ityaha. You are not just the source of the vision. You are not just the source of vision for me alone. You are actually the visual faculty for all living entities. Surya Heva Sarvatamohanta. You can destroy the darkness that is found everywhere, like the sun. Kapila Muni is accepted as an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of God and Krishna. Here the word Adyaha means the origin of all living entities. Adyaha. Wait, what is this? Text number 9. Adyaha. No meaning. Adya. Adidev in Anuvad. Adyaha means the origin of all living entities. And Pumsam Ishvara means the Lord, Ishvara of the living entities. Ishvara Parama Krishna. Kapila Muni is the direct expansion of Krishna, who is the sun of spiritual knowledge. That means he can distribute spiritual knowledge like the sun. As the sun dissipates the darkness of the universe, so when the light of the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes down, it at once dissipates the darkness of Maya. We have our eyes, but without the light of the sun, our eyes are of no value. Similarly, without the light of the Supreme Lord or without the divine grace of the spiritual master, one cannot see things as they are. 10. Athame deva sammoham apakrashtam tvam arhasi yo avagrahoham mameti tasmin yojitastvaya. Now be pleased, my Lord, to dispel my great delusion. Due to my feeling of false ego, I have been engaged by your Maya. Tvaya yojitaha. And have identified myself with the body and consequent bodily relations. Atha eva prathamam mama sammoha andhakaram apakrashtum durikirtum yat khalu sammoha avagraha bhakti amrita vrishtehe pratibandhakaha. This great delusion, first of all, should be removed. This sammoha refers to darkness, and you deserve to actually remove it, because this is an obstacle for the shower of the nectar of pure devotional service. Idrishaha etasmin dehageha adau aham mama iti pratham iti shabda samapto dvitiya iti shabda prakare aham sukhi mama geham samruddhimat iti etavat prakara iti arthaha. So I have this misconception. What is the nature of this misconception? The nature of this misconception is aham mama iti. I am very happy and my house is prosperous, and so on. It's entirely I, me, mine, as they say in today's world. One maya kalpitatvad vaya eva yojitaha. Because this entire arrangement is made by your maya potency, it has been engaged by you. The false ego of identifying one's body as oneself and claiming things possessed in relationship with this body is called maya. In Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, the Lord says, I am sitting in everyone's heart, and from me come everyone's remembrance and forgetfulness. Devahuti has stated that false identification of the body with the self and attachment for possessions in relation to the body are also under the direction of the Lord. Does this mean that the Lord discriminates by engaging one in his devotion service and another in sense gratification? If that were true, it would be an incongruity on the part of the Supreme Lord. It would be an irregularity on the part of the Supreme Lord. But that is not the actual fact. As soon as a living entity forgets his real constitutional position of eternal servitorship to the Lord and wants instead to enjoy himself by sense gratification, he is captured by Maya. This capture by Maya is the consciousness of false identification with the body and attachment for the possessions of the body. These are the activities of Maya. And since Maya is also an agent of the Lord, it is indirectly the action of the Lord. The Lord is merciful. If anyone wants to forget him and enjoy this material world, he gives him full facility. Not directly, but through the agency of this material potency. Therefore, since the material potency is the Lord's energy, indirectly it is the Lord who gives a facility to forget him. Devahuti therefore said, my engagement in sense gratification was also due to you. Now kindly get me free from this entanglement. Actually, this is our position. And all of us should pray to Krishna and Krishna's representatives, various grades of representatives. The same prayer. By the grace of the Lord, one is allowed to enjoy this material world, but when one is disgusted with material enjoyment and is frustrated, and when one sincerely surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Lord, then the Lord is so kind that he frees one from entanglement. So when one is disgusted with material enjoyment and is frustrated, means when one is disgusted with all potential material enjoyment. Not that we keep thinking that, okay, this type of enjoyment with this person, with this items is frustrating, but other types of material enjoyment with other person, with other items will not be frustrating. Then no, that is not preliminary. That is not a prerequisite to surrender unto the Lord for spiritual realization. Then the Lord is so kind that he frees one from entanglement. That is only when we sincerely surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord, when we are absolutely frustrated. Krishna therefore says in Bhagavad Gita, first of all surrender, then I will take charge of you and free you from all reactions of sinful activities. Sinful activities are those activities performed in forgetfulness of our relationship with the Lord. Now, in the Upanishads also, students of Vedanta Darshan know this, that in the Upanishads also, the transcendentalist considers pious credits to be as problematic as sinful reactions, because pious credits will cause you to continue in material existence. So, mature transcendentalists are not attracted to accumulating pious credits, which automatically implies not interested in accumulating wealth, not interested in accumulating facilities for sense enjoyment. In this material world, activities for material enjoyment, which are considered to be pious, are also sinful for transcendentalists. For example, one sometimes gives something in charity to a needy person with a view to getting back the money 4 times increased. Those who are enlightened about pious activities, they do things like this. Those who are in Tamoguna don't even do this, go to hell only. Giving with the purpose of gaining something is called charity in the mode of passion. Everything done here is done in the modes of material nature, and therefore all activities but service to the Lord are sinful. Because of sinful activities, we become attracted by the illusion of material attachment. And we think, I am this body. I think of the body as myself and of bodily possessions as mine. Devahuti requested Lord Kapila to free her from that entanglement of false identification and false possession. Question.
Prabhu, I have two questions. One is like I have problem in making one person understand. He is one of my relative. So he is having this problem that although I have stated that it's because of our free will that Krishna allows us to forget him. But the question is that if Lord is actually merciful, he should not have let me suffer even though I wished for that. So any other way is there to explain this?
Even in today's world, say, take for instance the different countries. Okay, there are governments and they have arrangements for law and order, and there are systems for punishment. It is recognized that there are different types of crimes, but everybody who commits any crime is not simply shot dead. No, in fact, they don't nowadays. They don't even want to kill a murderer as much as possible, unless he's a global terrorist or something like that. They don't want to kill.
There are some human rights.
Then also they and even they say, out of mercy, you must have basic mercy. So they talk of human rights. So Krishna talks about jiva rights. That you should give him the right to forget me. He wants to, as much as possible, Krishna is trying to convince that this is incompatible with you. It is incompatible. But if the living entity wants again, then Krishna allows it. He is sitting with the living entity as the Paramatma, and with the unhappiness, he is allowing it. He's not very happy about it, but he is allowing. Even in today's world, people don't, people go and steal things and all. They are given. This is called petty crime, and there are petty punishments. They're put in jail for 6 months, 3 months, 4 months, 1 year, 2 years. Not government doesn't want theft at all. So why doesn't the government just order that anyone who steals he steals some jewelry, shoot him dead on the spot? Why don't they make arrangements like that? There's mercy. There is the idea that these people can rectify themselves. They can reform themselves. Prisons are called places of reformation. So they hope that after you come out of prison, you'll have a fresh new life filled with moral enlightenment. And you will not engage in these activities which you have done. And you will do good to the society. So everybody wants reformation. So what is wrong if God wants reformation? He wants us to reform ourselves. Unless you want some kind of spiritual nihilism that no, God should actually make me into a robot, that he will not accept. Love requires non-robotic life. No artificial intelligence, natural intelligence.
And second question was this frustration and disgust from material enjoyment. When does it come in one's life? Like something he has to do for this to happen.
That's what. When one makes spiritual progress, then he understands that material enjoyment is frustrating. So gradually we understand that. We gradually begin to understand that material enjoyment is frustrating. Initially, we get out of sinful activities, sinful material activities, then we get out of sinless material activities. Okay.
Is it not a cycle, Prabhu? Like for spiritual realization, the prerequisite is to get frustrated and sick of material enjoyment. And this will happen when I'll be spiritually advanced. So it looks like a cycle.
No, it is not. When you receive the mercy of the elevated stages in Sattva Guna or beyond, then you become capable of understanding what you should avoid. To whatever extent you proportionately give up that, you begin to experience the benefits of the sattvic life, what to speak of transcendental life. So gradually one progresses in that manner.
So sometimes we see that we get frustration, then we do sense gratification. Then again we get...
No. This is not that kind. This is all around frustration. This is absolute frustration. That is all some tiny little frustration. You're frustrated only in one particular circumstance. I didn't get my ice cream, therefore I'm angry. Not like that. I get absolutely irritated with everything. I want to enter completely into spiritual life. I want internal realization. Internally, I want to become qualified to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, my relationship with Him. So I need to engage in pratyahara. I need to withdraw my senses from the external world. All these thoughts will come.
With the same aim only, it seems we come to spiritual life when we are outside. We
are very expert in making sure we forget that aim. All in the name of saving the world. We want to save the world in such a manner that we forget the purpose for which we want to save ourselves. Bogus it is.
Okay, here one more question comes that when it is said, first you have to make perfect yourself, then you have to preach to others. Then why the spiritual master requests at the time of initiation that you should help me in preaching?
Not only help in preaching, now who's telling you to preach? You help more advanced devotees in preaching. Who's telling you to start thinking I should save the world? We are not qualified to save the world. Those who are perfect devotees, they are the ones who are preaching. So we can assist them. It's the difference between assisting in preaching and preaching. All of us are meant to come to that point where we ourselves preach. By the strength of our Vairagya Vidya and Hari Bhakti, we are supposed to preach. That's a fact. But we haven't come to that point. And we should come to that point. And after we come to the point, we should preach. It's correct. It's correct only.
But practically, when we see in the field that we are not assisting, it seems that we are only trying to preach.
That is some craziness. We are supposed to bring the living entities to superior Vaishnavas. It's just everywhere they do, in the hospitals also. The junior doctors will only take up cases that they can handle. They will not take up cases that they cannot handle. So first of all, they have to have enough brains to understand the gradation. Who is superior, who is inferior. We also require help from more advanced devotees. So naturally, everybody will require. Okay, let's move on. Okay, 11. tam tva gataham sharanam sharanyam svabhritya samsara taroh kutharam jigyasayaham prakrite purushasya namami sadharma vidam varishtham. Devahuti continued, I have taken shelter of your lotus feet because you are the only person of whom to take shelter. You are the axe which can cut the tree of material existence. I therefore offer my obeisances unto you, who are the greatest of all transcendentalists, and I inquire from you as to the relationship between man and woman and between spirit and matter. Axe. What, American English?
Yeah.
AX. Twa, twam, twa, twam. Prakrite purushasya cha jigyasaya purusha khalu koyah samsari prakrishta yatosya samsaraha iti gyatumichaya. Who indeed is this Purusha who's experiencing material existence? And what is this Prakriti, because of whom there is material existence? I wish to know all this. Nachatra kaschid anya prashtavyah. I have nothing else to ask. Nothing else to ask? Does it also mean I have no one else to ask? Yes, I have no one else to ask other than you. Nobody else is fit for answering this question. With this in mind, she says, Sadharma vidam varishtham satam yaha dharmaha tadrisha samsara nivartaka bhakti rupaha tad vidam madhye shreshtham. You are the best amongst those who know about bhakti, which neutralizes material existence. Amongst the saints who know about this dharma, you are the best. Sankhya philosophy, as is well known, deals with Prakriti and Purusha. Purusha is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or anyone who imitates the Supreme Personality of Godhead as an enjoyer. And Prakriti means nature. In this material world, material nature is being exploited by the Purushas or the living entities. The intricacies in the material world of the relationship of the Prakriti and Purusha, or the enjoyer and the enjoyed and the enjoyer, is called samsara, or material entanglement. In Bengali, samsara means family life.
Yeah, in Indian places. As soon as that comes, it becomes samsara.
In Tamil Nadu, samsara means wife. Samsara, they ask, how's your samsara?
Yeah, they ask, how is your samsara? This means
No, in there they ask, how's your samsara means, how's your family life? In Tamil Nadu, how's your samsara means, how's your wife?
only wife. Not
Wife.
children.
No, wife. There's a roof. Starts with that.
In Bengal also, it starts with that only. As long as one is not married, but as soon as one is married, how is your samsara? Of course, if wife only, then wife, if wife and children, then wife and children. So it has extended in over a period of time.
It's such an enlightened culture. Devahuti wanted to cut the tree of material entanglement, and she found the suitable weapon in Kapila Muni. The tree of material existence is explained in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita as an Ashwatha tree, whose root is upwards and whose branches are downwards. It is recommended there that one has to cut the root of this material existential tree with the axe of detachment. What is the attachment? The attachment involves Prakriti and Purusha. The living entities are trying to lord it over material nature. Since the conditioned soul takes material nature to be the object of his enjoyment, and he takes the position of the enjoyer, he is therefore called Purusha. Devahuti questioned Kapila Muni, for she knew that only he could cut her attachment to this material world. The living entities in the guises of men and women are trying to enjoy the material energy. Therefore, in one sense, everyone is Purusha, because Purusha means enjoyer, and Prakriti means enjoyed. In this material world, both the so-called man and so-called woman are imitating the real Purusha. In the the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually the enjoyer in the transcendental sense, whereas all others are Prakriti. The living entities are considered Prakritis. In Bhagavad Gita, matter is analyzed as apara or inferior nature, whereas beyond this inferior nature, there is another superior nature, the living entities. Living entities are also Prakriti or enjoyed, but under the spell of Maya, the living entities are falsely trying to take the position of enjoyers. That is the cause of samsara bandha or conditional life, the bondage to samsara. Samsara in Vedanta Darshan simply refers to continually going through birth, death, old age, disease. It's called samsara. Material existence. Devahuti wanted to get out of conditional life and place herself in full surrender. The Lord is Sharanya, which means the only worthy personality to whom one can fully surrender because he's full of all opulences. If anyone actually wants relief, the best course is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is also described here as Sadharma Vidam Varishtham. This indicates that of all transcendental occupations, the best occupation is eternal loving service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dharma is sometimes translated as religion, but that is not exactly the meaning. Dharma actually means that which one cannot give up, that which is inseparable from oneself. The warmth of fire is inseparable from fire, and therefore warmth is called dharma or nature of fire. Similarly, sadharma means eternal occupation. That eternal occupation is engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The purpose of Kapiladeva's Sankhya philosophy is to propagate pure and contaminated devotion service, and therefore he is addressed here as the most important personality amongst those who know the transcendental occupation of the living entity. 12. Maitreya Vacha. Iti swamatur niravadyam ipsitam nishamya pumsam apavarga vardhanam dhiyabhinandyatma vatam satam gatir babhasha ishat smita shobhitanana. Maitreya said, after hearing of his mother's uncontaminated desire for transcendental realization, the Lord thanked her within himself for her questions, and thus, his face smiling, he explained the path of the transcendentalists who are interested in self-realization. Apavargasya mokshasya vardhanam vriddhihi. The desire of his mother was uncontaminated, and it increases the cessation of bodily existence. Which means it increases the possibility for attaining liberation. Shleshena aprakrishta vargasya trivargasya chedanam yatasta. And indirectly he is saying that this increases the chances of cutting one's relationship with trivarga, anything which is not the highest. See, within dharma, artha, kama, moksha, moksha is the highest. So that which is not moksha refers to trivarga, dharma, artha, kama. And to cut off one's relationship with dharma, dharma here refers to sadhya dharma, 5 credits. Artha, sadhya artha, kama also refers to sadhya kama. These 3. And her desire is going to help the entire humanity because he's going to answer. And it will be helpful for anyone who wants to get out of all of this. Atma, sa kapila eva sevyatvena vartate, yesham, tesham satam bhaktanam gatihi. And he is atmavatam satam gatihi. The Supreme Lord is himself the path for those transcendentalists interested in self-realization. Those who accept Lord Sri Kapila as their object of service. For those devotees, he is the shelter. Ishat smitaha. Iti mama parameshwarasya tvam mata bhavasi tava apika samsaraha bhavatu तदपि त्वां लक्षीकृत्य लोकानुद्धर्तुं किमपि उपदेशामि इति भावः. He smiled slightly because it is implied that he thought, I am the Supreme Lord and you are my mother. Where is the question of material existence for you? Still, consider through you, I will give some instructions to the world through you in order to deliver that world. Devahuti has surrendered her confession of material entanglement and her desire to gain release. Her questions to Lord Kapila are very interesting for persons who are actually trying to get liberation from material entanglement and attain the perfectional stage of human life. See, Vedic Dharma is designed in such a way, like for instance, here this situation, a woman is meant to be obedient to a dharmic father and later to a dharmic husband and later to a dharmic son. Now here, that is dharma for the mother. If she simply follows her dharma of being a mother, she will get liberated. That is why Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur notes that he smiled. All she has to do is just do whatever she is meant to do according to Vedic dharma itself. Then automatically she will be delivered. Because she is supposed to obey Kapila. Kapila will, whatever he says, whether in this 5 chapters or even otherwise, she simply obeys her son, the Supreme Personality of God, and automatically she will get liberated. Okay. But for the other people, they do not know these things. And therefore, Lord Kapila, he considered her questions to be very interesting. Her questions, Lord Kapila, are very interesting for persons who are actually trying to get liberation from material entanglement and attain the perfectional stage of human life. Unless one is interested in understanding his spiritual life or his constitutional position, and unless he also feels inconvenience in material existence, his human form of life is spoiled. One who does not care for these transcendental necessities of life and simply engages like an animal in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating has spoiled his life. Lord Kapila was very much satisfied by his mother's questions because the answers stimulate one's desire for liberation from the conditional life of material existence. Such questions are called apavarga vardhanam. Those who have actual spiritual interest are called sat or devotees. Satam prasangat. Sat means that which eternally exists, and asat, that which is not eternal. That comes in Bhagavad Gita now, 2nd chapter. What is that? Nasato vidyate bhava, nabhavo vidyate sata. Ubhayorapi drishtontaha, manayos tattva darshibhihi. Unless one is situated on the spiritual platform, he is not sat, he is asat. The asat stands on a platform which will not exist. But anyone who stands on the spiritual platform will exist eternally. That means, in the identity which I have accepted, I will exist eternally. Now, currently, I have a human body, male human body, which has a certain nama, certain rupa, certain smriti. In my next life, I'll have a different nama, rupa, smriti. I'll have a different name, different form, different set of memories. Okay, so there's a difference. And in the next life, again, it'll be different. But once I become spiritually perfect, in my spiritual identity, it will always be the same. Kutastha, unchanging, avikara. A spirit soul, everyone exists eternally, but the asat has accepted the material world as his shelter. And therefore, he is full of anxiety. Asat grahan, the incompatible situation of the spirit soul who has the false idea of enjoying matter, is the cause of the soul's being asat. This is a reference to another Bhagavatam verse. Asat grahat, actually. Actually, the spirit soul is not asat. As soon as one is conscious of this fact and takes to Krishna consciousness, he becomes sat. Satam gratihi. The path of the eternal is very interesting. Two persons who are after liberation, and his Lordship Kapila began to speak about that path. 13. Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Yoga Adhyatmika Pumsam मतो निःश्रेयसाय मे अत्यंतोपरतिर्यत्र दुःखस्य च सुखस्य च. The personality of Godhead answered. The yoga system, which relates to the Lord and the individual soul, which is meant for the ultimate benefit of the living entity and which causes detachment from all happiness and distress in the material world, is the highest yoga system. So this is Adhyatmika Yoga. We should have some centers, Adhyatmika Yoga Kendras. We should teach them to sit and chant. They should sit in Padmasana, they should chant. Then they will take it seriously. Close your eyes and chant. First of all, chant for 1 minute. And then 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So they'll think this is something serious. If you tell them to engage in bhakti yoga, then they'll not accept. You say, what is it? You move your hands, feet, you do puja, you go talk, you eat some pizza, you do this, and you call it's all bhakti yoga. We don't take it seriously. But you teach something like this. Call it Adhyatmika yoga.
But we also say that there is no rules and regulations for chanting.
That is, if you chant without offenses. And one rule is that you have to avoid offenses. But if you follow these kind of things, then people will accept it. Traditionally, this is how they were doing now. Traditionally, you come to Bhakti Yoga after Ashtanga Yoga, after Jnana Yoga, after Karma Yoga. There is a reason why these things are there. Adhyatmikaha, Jivatmanishtaha.
So you mean only chanting in the centers?
No. Start with that. That is anyway the center of Bhakti Yoga. In Kali Yoga, that is meant to be the center anyway.
Then
ask for the benefits. What are the benefits?
So many benefits. 7 benefits. Cheto Darpana Marjana, Bhoma Hadava, Shaya Kairo Tantrika. You'll have to explain. You'll have to have a course. 7-day session.
Do we have any material for that?
You have to develop it. You have to develop all that. Adhyatmikaha, Jivatmanishtaha. Adhyatmika means relating to the soul. Yoga system which relates to the soul, which means obviously it relates to the soul and the basis of the soul, who is the Supreme Lord. Yoga, Nishreyasartham Upayaha. Yoga also means the pathway. The yoga itself means the pathway. The pathway by which one can attain the ultimate good. Nishreyasa. Such a bhakti jnanam yoga cha iti trividaha vaktavyaha. And thereof, there are 3. Bhakti, Jnana and Yoga. Tatra Bhakti Pakshe Nishreyasam Anusamhitam Phalam Gyeyam. And for the Bhaktas, the result is direct and absolute. That should be understood. Yatra yoge sati samsarikasya dukkhasya sukhasya cha unmulanam. And when one engages in, when one comes to the point of Bhakti Yoga, then there is an uprootment of unhappiness and happiness. Uprootment means it is no longer possible to re-experience material happiness and material unhappiness. Okay, so we'll stop with that. Vanshai kalpitarubhyo Shri Pasantabhyo Vaishnavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.